The Way Home just delivered the most emotionally layered episode of this entire final season, and I honestly do not know which moment broke me more. The one where Colton stepped outside during a 1979 kitchen party and held Del's baby bump while she whispered that they should not tell anyone yet, that it was hard for her to get pregnant. Or the one where Alice comes back to the present and has to tell Kat and Elliot what she witnessed. That Del lost a baby before any of them were born. And nobody in this family knew. Not one person. For decades, let's talk about everything that happened in We've Got Tonight. The 1920s prison cell. The 2 kitchen parties running across 2 different decades simultaneously. What Tessa's handwriting in the family almanac actually proves. Why Nick wanting Colton's old boat tells us everything about where Del's heart still lives. And why Nick jumping into that pond at the end might be the most dangerous decision this show has ever made. Because this episode had layers underneath layers, and every single one of them connects. First, Kat. Still in the 1920s, still behind bars, and furious, Fern drugged her at the speakeasy to protect her from whatever the Augustin boys were planning, and then Fern paid her bail. And Cliff, suspicious of who Kat really is, asking questions because she has no ID, tried to stop her from leaving. Kat told him she would only give answers if he brought her to Fern. He refused, said Fern was safe, and then Fern herself walked through the door and confirmed she paid the bail. And as they walked back to the Landry farm, Kat and Elliot and Alice filled Nick in on everything. The pond, Tessa, the search, all of it. And Nick listened. And something in the way he listened told me he was not hearing this for the first time, in the way they assumed he was. Now, the present-day kitchen party, because Del threw one the way she always has. Music and warmth and people filling the house the way Colton loved it filled. Nick is back, and Carrie James back on our screens reminded me immediately why this show breathes differently when he is in a room. But Nick did not arrive alone. A car pulled up the driveway. A man stepped out, and Nick introduced him as Julian, his biological father, Ted Atherton. And Julian had already sent Del flowers before he arrived, which Sam found out about at the party and did not know what to do with. From the moment Julian walked into that kitchen, the energy shifted. Sparks were flying without either of them trying. Julian noticed Del makes honey, called it fitting, said it without effort. And Del let herself be caught up in that for just a moment. And that moment, that single unguarded moment, is what sets everything that follows in motion. But the Sam and Del conversation does not happen at the party. It happens the next morning. Sam finds Del tending the horses. He wants to talk. And Del says, "You did not seem bothered about Julian flirting with me." And she tells him their relationship is a gift, not a given. And Sam tries to explain how much he cares. And Del says she thinks they should take a step back. And I honestly think what Del is really saying underneath all of it is that she does not feel what she felt with Colton. And Julian appearing effortlessly charming in her kitchen the night before was the mirror that showed her exactly what she has been settling for. And before any of that, Nick told Del he wanted to buy a boat. He was looking to buy Colton's old boat specifically. And Del looked at him and said, "That boat is not for sale." One sentence. No explanation. And I honestly felt the weight of every year she has been holding on to that boat in those 4 words. Colton is gone. But his boat is not going anywhere. Now, Alice in 1979. Because the pond brought her back to a kitchen party of a very different kind, Alice cannot let young Colton or young Del see her. So she watches from behind the staircase as the 1979 kitchen party fills the Landry house, and she sees Fern come downstairs, and sees Fern notice a new face, and sees Fern get introduced to Tessa for the very first time in this timeline, and immediately, the moment Tessa's hands touch the Landry family almanac, Fern's entire mood changes. She warns Tessa to take her hands off it, tells her she will never be part of this family no matter how hard she tries. Everyone at the party is confused because from their perspective, Fern just attacked a stranger. But Fern is not reacting to a stranger. She is reacting to a name Kat whispered to her in the 1920s. A name she has been watching for. And the moment she sees it attached to a face touching the almanac, she loses her composure completely. Alice watches all of it from behind the staircase and rushes out the moment the confrontation ends. And then separately, outside, Dell comes out of the house. She turns toward the bushes near where Alice is hiding and throws the wine from her glass. Alice dodges it, stays completely still. And then Colton comes outside to check on Dell and asks if she is okay and reaches out and holds her baby bump. Gently. The way you hold something so new and so fragile, you are almost afraid to believe it is real. And Dell tells him, "We should wait before telling everyone. It was hard for me to get pregnant." And Colton says, 1979 is the year we start our family, and the episode does not dwell on it. It just lets Alice witness it, and lets us witness Alice witnessing it. And then Alice comes back to the present, and she tells Kat and Elliot that Dell was pregnant in 1979. Well, before Kat was born, and none of them, not Kat, not Elliot, not anyone who has ever loved Dell Landry, knew she lost a baby. Dell carried that grief alone for decades while raising Kat and rebuilding everything and missing Colton every single day. I honestly could not sit with that quietly. That woman has held so much pain for so long, and this show keeps finding new chambers of it now. What Alice and Kat discover about Tessa, because this is the moment that rearranges the mythology. They sit down with the family almanac, and they notice the handwriting is different for Jacob Landry Jr.'s death date. Someone else wrote it. Kat looks at it closely, and she matches the handwriting to the letter Tessa sent Elliot before she passed. Same hand, which means Tessa was in 1882 when that death date was written. She has been present in this family's history since before anyone realized. And then they see it. Tessa also wrote Fern's birth date in the almanac. Tessa was there when Fern was born. Fern has known Tessa or known of Tessa from the very first moment of her existence. And the reaction in that 1979 kitchen party is not confusion. It is recognition and fury and fear. Nick walks in while Kat and Alice are still processing all of this. He asks what they have found. And then he says something that neither of them had said yet. He wonders aloud whether Tessa might have been trapped, not missing. Trapped. And that specific word arriving from Nick before anyone else reaches for it is something I cannot stop thinking about. Because why does he reach for trapped? And where is Claire, his fiancée, who has never appeared on screen in this entire show? Not once. And Nick is about to jump into a pond knowing he might never come back, without apparently feeling the need to call her first. Kat decides she has to go back into the pond to find Tessa and bring her back. Alice wants us to go. Nick says no. He offers to jump instead, to protect Kat. And they warn him, if they get separated in the past, the pond may not bring him home. And Nick says he understands, and they jump together into the pond, and the episode cuts before we see where they land, and at the exact same moment, Dell is on the ground, unconscious. She had seen a glimpse of what appeared to be young Colton near the rock where Tessa's luggage was found. the same rock her horse refuses to approach. She pushed the horse toward it. The horse panicked, threw her. And the final image of this episode is Del lying still in the dark while Nick and Kat disappear into the water. And Elliot, who texted Kat at 4 a.m. saying he would be back soon and to not jump in the pond without him. He left in the night to find Jacob. And Jacob, who has been wrestling with visions of Thomas calling him a coward from miles away, did not rush home even after Elliot arrived. And I honestly think the combination of Elliot showing up and Thomas haunting him is going to be what finally breaks Jacob's resistance. But not yet. Episode 5, Don't Cry Out Loud, airs this Sunday, May 17 at 9 p.m. on Hallmark Channel. Nick and Kat land in 1925 specifically, and the Augie boys are waiting. The same boys who already marked Kat as a target last time she was in the 1920s. And whatever they were planning before Fern stopped it, it is still unfinished. And now Nick is there too, with no way to know whether Del is alive back in the present. You can stream the episode the next day on Hallmark Plus. And if you need to catch up, seasons 1 through 3 are on Netflix right now. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think Nick knows more about the pond than he has ever admitted? And what do you think Del and Colton's lost baby means for everything we thought we understood about this family? Because after watching Colton hold that baby bump in 1979 and knowing what came after, I honestly think Del Landry has been carrying more than any of us ever gave her credit for.